Hey, what's up everyone? Adam here with brahwegotthis, and today we are going to go through my 5 best or favorite stamina monster sets for the DPS role in the Elder Scrolls Online. We did a magic version of this and plan to do a healer and tank one as well, so make sure to stay tuned for those. But we have some sets in this video's top 5 that span across a wide variety of playstyles and or difficulties. We have easy to use sets, more advanced sets, and just flat out fun to use monster sets. But if you have any questions about these, you can always come by my Twitch chat at twitch.tv/brahwegotthis on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. However, I am gone for the holiday when this video releases, so I will be back on January 4th for streaming. So if you go to the stream, I will not be there until then. But the link for the Twitch is in the description. Also, you can join our Discord and check out the website as well at brahwegotthis.com. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to all my patrons for all the support. If you would like to support the Patreon, check out the link below and you can see all the available perks of being a patron, like early access to builds and whatnot. So real quick, if you don't know what monster sets are, these are a part of the Undaunted Guild content in the game. You may see players talk about pledges each day, and what these pledges do are give you Undaunted keys that allow you to spin those at the vendors in your capital city of your alliance. For the Aldmeri Dominion, this is in the zone of Grotwood and the city of Eldenroot. For the Daggerfall Covenant, it is in the zone of Stormhaven and the city of Wayrest. And for the Ebonheart Pact, it is in the zone of Deshawn and in the city of Mournhold. Now, if you do the daily pledges on normal, you will receive 1 key. And these are just random, dungeons that they rotate through. Each day there's a specified dungeon that you have to do for each pledge giver, but that will change on the next day. But you get 1 key for doing the normal versions of these dungeons. If you do them on Veteran Hard mode, you will get 2 keys. Now, if you complete these on Veteran at any time, not just in the pledge, you will get a guaranteed monster helm drop for that dungeon. The shoulders drop from the chest that you use the keys on at those vendors in those capital cities. If you want a more in-depth guide on this, I have one in the description or the top of the screen for the Undaunted. And also, I want to note as well that there is a vendor called the Golden Vendor that comes every weekend that will have random monster sets as well, but these cost, gold or the currency for the PvP, activities. So just keep that in mind as well, but mainly people get these from doing the actual dungeons. But let's go ahead and jump into these sets. I will say that not everyone will agree with me on these, and that's okay. So what I'd like you to do is leave a comment below letting me know if there's a set that you would use differently or that you have found to work for you. And you should also heavy attack that bell icon and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest content of the channel when I drop the healer and tank videos and all the other content. So I'm going to start off with the 2 honorable mentions. These are Stormfist from Tempest Island Dungeon and Slimecrawl from Wayrest Sewers 1. Stormfist adds 129 stamina recovery for the 1 piece, and then when you the 2 pieces, when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create a Thunder Fist to crush the enemy, dealing 1650 shock damage every 1 second for 3 seconds to all enemies within 4 meters, and a final 8,470 physical damage when the fist closes. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. The shock damage dealt from this set bypasses spell resistance. So this is a solid beginner set, I think, for monster sets in general. The proc chance is low in a way with 10%, but it is when you deal damage. You don't even have to do critical damage. But I'm not like a huge fan of this set. I think it's decent, but this is a great place to start out if you're looking for like a beginner monster set, I think. But this can potentially do a lot of damage. It just depends on if you get that proc chance. And then Slimecrawl, what Slimecrawl does is the 1 piece adds 833 spell critical or 833 weapon critical, and the 2 item you gain minor berserk at all times, which increases your damage done by 5%. Now again, this is a nice monster set, and again, it's in a pretty easy dungeon to acquire, and it's just a flat out solid monster set. And this is a great entry point again for beginner Stamina DPS. Is if you just want to boost to your DPS, put this on and it's going to give you 5% more damage done. But the reason I have this in the honorable mentions is mainly because this is something that you can almost get on just a basic trial set like Reliquin or anything that gives you Minor Slayer. Now, Minor Slayer, it's different than Minor Berserk. Minor Slayer increases your damage done to dungeon, trial, and arena monsters by 5%. But if you think about it, a lot of times you're going to be in a dungeon, a trial, or an arena. So it's not really that much of a difference or that bad if you only have that versus Minor Berserk, but if you're doing overland content and you're not in a trial or dungeon, I can understand why you'd want to run, the slime crawl. But I'm just saying that this set is a solid alternative when you first start out, but when you get those trial sets, you're going to be doing that extra 5% in trials, dungeons, and arenas, and that's where you're going to spend, I feel like, most of your time if you're doing in-game content. But number 5 on the list is Celestrix. This comes from Ark's Corneum Dungeon. What this does is this adds 1096 max stamina and 2 pieces. When you deal damage, you create an earthquake under the enemy that erupts after 1.5 seconds, dealing 6,836 physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters and stunning them for 3 seconds. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Okay. I think this set is just so underrated in my opinion. I believe this set is just so solid for Stamina DPSs. This is amazing for soloing and CCing. Just because with the CC, this buys you a lot of time as a solo player. And even if you're not soloing and you use this, it's just, they remove the proc chance from this, and now it deals, whenever you deal damage, you're going to do the earthquake. So you're going to be able to do this every basically 6 seconds. So it's going to last for 3 seconds with the stun, and then you're going to be able to proc this every 6 seconds. Now, when you stun those adds, they're not going to be able to be stunned infinitely. There's going to be like a debuff or a cooldown for the CC, but you're still going to do 6,300, or 6,836 physical damage, which is still really, really solid. So I love this set for solo players. I also love it for, again, beginner DPS roles that want to have some CC and some stuns. It's really, really solid, y'all, and I just think it's a great monster set. Number 4 is Domi House, and this, if you watch my Magicka monster sets video, this one, it makes an appearance in that one as well. This is kind of a hybrid set in a way, you could say, and this is acquired from Falkreath Hold DLC Dungeon. Now, this adds max 1096 max stamina or adds 1096 max magicka. And the 2 pieces, when you deal damage, you create either a ring of fire or a ring of molten earth around you for 10 seconds, which deals 1300 flame damage or 1300 physical damage every 1 second. Standing within this ring gives you or grants you 300 spell damage or 300 weapon damage. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. So this would be, if we're stamina, we're going to get that stamina and that physical damage and the weapon damage buff. This can basically be up almost all the time with like a 5-second, downtime, because it lasts for 10 seconds and then it can occur every 15 seconds. And this is just, again, there's no proc chance. It's just whenever you deal damage. So you're going to be dealing damage as a DPS. So you're going to get that, earth around you or whatever. You're going to deal physical damage every 1 second for 10 seconds. And then you're going to grant yourself, 300 weapon damage if you stand, within the ring. And that is just a really, really solid buff and a really, really good set to run. I mean, this set performs decently well, and it's gonna do well for you. And especially if you know your rotation and you really optimize this with weapon damage and all of that good stuff, you're going to see a lot of nice results from the set. So it's just a really good all-around set for stamina and magicka characters if you want to use it on your magicka character. Number 3, and this one has kind of came down for me just because I've had some realizations with this actual set. And this is Velodreth. Velodreth is able to be acquired in the Cradle of Shadows Vet DLC dungeon. This one item set adds 129 weapon damage. The 2-piece is when you deal damage, you have a 20% chance to spawn 3 disease spores in front of you after 1 second that deals 10,752 disease damage to the first enemy they hit. This effect can occur every 8 seconds. This is a solid set, and I would say this is something you should definitely go for at some point. But for generally most people, I think this set is going to perform not as great as one of the sets in the next 2 that I mention here, just because this one really is solid with like AoE and everything like that. The chance is 20% chance to spawn the disease spores. It's just something, again, that I don't know if this set is the top one anymore, in my opinion, just from when I've used it versus other sets that I've used in its place. But I still think it's a really, really good set, and it really hits hard when it does proc. So this is in a DLC dungeon that, in my opinion, isn't really that hard, so it's a little easier to acquire maybe than number 2. But again, it's a 20% chance, and it's nothing you really have to think about in a way. It's just going to do 3 spores out in a cone, and it's going to be, it's going to hit something. It's deep. It's really going to be good for you in like trash mobs and stuff like that. The second set, and this one was really brought to my attention by Just Bakes in our community, and the footage that you're going to see here is actually him, because I don't actually have this monster set. So I want to give a huge shout out to Just Bakes for recording this for me and getting me some footage of this, because I've not been able to use this except for in the PTS, and I'm not able to really get on the PTS right now. So I do appreciate him sending me this footage, but this set is Marcelok, and Marcelok is from the Lair of Marcelok DLC dungeon. And this set is really interesting, and I never really thought of this until he mentioned this to me, but this one adds 1096 max stamina, and the 2-piece is when you bash an enemy, you spew a cone of corruption, dealing 7,200 disease damage to enemies over 4 seconds. This damage is increased by 5% for each negative effect the enemies have, up to 150% additional damage. This effect can occur once every 7 seconds. So this is something that you can have up almost all the time, and this right here I think is probably one of the most advanced sets of this guide. And the reason is you've got to make sure that you are bashing, and as you see in his rotation, bash weaving is actually a thing. I have a animation canceling guide and like weaving guide down in the description where I talk about bashing and how you can incorporate that in animation canceling and weaving. Bash weaving is something that isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. And so basically, as long as you're able to weave a bash in every 7 seconds, that is going to help this set perform the best that it possibly can. And now the other thing that depends on if this set is going to perform as great as it can is if there's a lot of negative effects on enemies. So I think this set is really solid for like bosses, because, if you're fighting trash mobs, you bash, it's going to do a nice little cone of AoE for the disease damage, but how, long are those trash mobs going to stay alive? You know what I mean? Like, how much effect are like negative effects are they actually going to acquire in that amount of time? Probably not enough to make this like, perform insane. But when you're fighting a boss and you're not just like killing the boss in 5 seconds, with everyone in your party doing certain debuffs and different types of damage and different types of negative effects, if you're bashing this in between your attacks and everything every 7 seconds, this is going to really perform well for you, and it's a really cool set. It's just something that I never thought of, and he's told me about it, and I was like, wow, this is actually something that I need to put in this video. And so I put this in here. Again, it is a little more advanced, and so just keep that in mind when you are equipping this monster set. And number 1, and this in my opinion is probably still one of the best stamina monster sets in the game, and it's one of the easiest stamina monster sets to acquire, and it's literally not hard at all to use. It's just the entry level is so easy for this, and it's so good on stamina DPS classes. And this is Celine's. This is from the Celine's Web dungeon. This is in the base game, so anyone can do this. And this adds 1096 max stamina for the 1-piece. And the 2-piece, when you deal melee damage, you have a 15% chance to call on a primal spirit that mauls the closest enemy in front of you after 1.3 seconds for 13,364 physical damage. This effect can occur every 4 seconds. This procs almost all the time, because again, you're dealing melee damage in a stamina DPS set, build almost all the time. And this, you'll see that little green bear that pops all the time. It's just always proccing, and it's just a huge heavy hitter for a lot of stamina DPS classes. Now, if you're playing like a bow build, you do not want to use this because you're probably not going to be doing melee damage. So just keep that in mind. It is melee damage, not just damage. But I love this set, and I think this one really is just always a staple for stamina DPS sets. But that is my 5 best or favorite sets to use for stamina DPS characters. Again, I will be doing these videos for healers and tanks as well, so make sure you heavy attack that bell icon and subscribe to stay up to date when those are released. And you can always ask questions down in the comments, or come to my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/brahwegotthis Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. You can always ask questions there, y'all. That'll be in the description for the link for that. And you can join our Discord. The link will be in the description as well. And lastly, again, make sure to check out our website at brahwegotthis.com. You can find me on Twitter at brahwegotthis. But that's going to be the end of the video, y'all. I do hope, again, this helped you out. But just remember, y'all, to have faith, be great, and I'll see you on ESO.